Thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoy today's video, and if you'd like to support the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference for me. Now let's begin. At 80 years old, Michael Douglas is finally dropping the silence he protected for decades. The version the public saw was polished and glamorous, a Hollywood power marriage wrapped in smiles and red carpets. Behind those careful answers and camera-ready moments, he says, lived a quieter truth, fear, exhaustion, and the private cost of loving Catherine Zeta-Jones while the world crowned them royalty. His candor raises an uncomfortable question. How much pain can hide inside a marriage everyone swears is perfect? He traces the pivot back to 1998, well before any public cracks. Laid up after back surgery and trying to step away from habits and compulsions that had stalked his earlier years, he watched a rising actress blaze across the screen in The Mask of Zorro. She was 29, electric and self-possessed, and the sight cut through the morphine haze with the force of an omen. He was 54, famous, respected, and, by his own account, emotionally threadbare after divorce, tabloid churn, and the long shadow of being Kirk Douglas's son. He knew fame inside and out. Peace kept slipping past him. They met at a festival in Deauville. He arrived with charm lacquered over nerves and tried to turn bravado into memory. "I'm going to be the father of your children," he told her, a line meant to be audacious and unforgettable. By most accounts, it clanged. Catherine shut it down with grace and a boundary. The sting of that moment, status failing where sincerity mattered, stayed with him. He didn't retreat. While she was in Scotland shooting Entrapment, he sent roses to her hotel, the gesture of a man trying to restart his life as much as start a courtship. She kept the card for decades. Slowly, a story began that wasn't about a movie star conquering a room. It was about a man determined to be better than the summary the industry had written for him. By December 1999, they were engaged. Their son, Dylan, arrived in August 2000. That November, they married at the Plaza in New York under a ceiling of gold light, the guest list a roll call of the town's mythmakers. It looked like destiny. He felt something else moving at the edges, not doubt exactly. More like the first whisper that fairy tales have gravity. Catherine's career didn't just rise, it ignited. In 2003, she won an Oscar while pregnant with their daughter, a peak that carried the glow of inevitability. Michael felt pride that bordered on awe, but underneath, a quieter fear stirred, the kind you can't admit when everything looks perfect. He tried to match her tempo. Age tapped him on the shoulder anyway. In 2010, the facade turned fragile. Catherine was 41, magnetic, and at the height of her power. Michael was 66, carrying surgeries, sobriety, and time. He had spent years trying to keep pace. Then a doctor said the words that change a room's temperature: stage 4 cancer. The tumor sat at the base of his tongue. Eating hurt. Speaking wore him out. Breathing felt like work. Chemotherapy and radiation flattened him. Catherine sat through the nausea, the sleepless nights, and the dread she wouldn't name. To the outside world, she was the unbreakable wife who never left his side. In private, she cried into a towel so he wouldn't hear. The age gap tabloids used as a punchline suddenly looked like a condition of daily life. She was mid-40s and ferociously capable. He was fighting to stand. He later said his first thought wasn't death. It was the children and the fear of leaving her to carry it all. When remission came in early 2011 and cameras captured the relief, the applause drowned out a different collapse. The months of vigilance and adrenaline emptied Catherine to the dregs. That spring, she entered treatment for bipolar II disorder, a truth she had kept even from herself until the seams gave way. Michael, still climbing back physically, confronted a fact he hadn't wanted to see. His illness hadn't only changed him, it had taken pieces of her. The miracle headline hid a marriage groaning under the weight of trauma, sacrifice, and unsaid things. They weren't who they had been when they walked into the plaza. The public clung to the fairy tale. Inside the house, stability turned slippery. She returned to treatment in the years that followed. Maintenance, not surrender, according to those close to them. He tried to rebuild, not just as an actor, but as a man who could be leaned on. Guilt crept in, the kind that doesn't shout but rearranges a room. He worried the crisis had charged her a tax that would never be refunded. She worried her life had bent permanently around someone else's needs. The age gap, once a glossy headline, became a daily calculation. Catherine wanted forward motion. He mapped his energy like a scarce resource. The friction wasn't about love, it was about stamina. In August 2013, they separated. There were no public fireworks, just two people admitting that distance had become a wall. Catherine left with the children, looking for air and the self she had shelved during his illness. Michael stayed in New York, thinner and grayer, returning to Deauville, the festival where the whole thing began. He gave interviews that sounded like someone rehearsing hope. "We're working things out," he said. Friends heard grief. She kept the public face steady, premieres, smiles, careful phrasing, while privately fighting resentment over roles passed, plans delayed, and the sensation that the glamorous life she'd been promised had slowly transformed into full-time caregiving. They still loved each other. They couldn't inhabit the same story. By early 2014, they were photographed together again, polite, tender, guarded. Fans called it a reunion. People around them called it an armistice. They moved back in under the same roof, aware they had returned as different people. The separation had not solved anything. It had shown them the price of breaking the family in two. From the outside, the marriage appeared mended. On the inside, it functioned more than it flourished, held together by commitment, children, history, and effort. Time has a way of revealing what love can't outrun. Bodies slow, ambitions don't. He aged faster than anyone expected him to. She hit her 50s with new energy, more travel, more work, more golf, more life. He preferred home, wary of illness and irrelevance and the headlines that grow teeth when a legend stumbles. According to people who claim proximity, frustration didn't detonate. It accreted. She had already pressed pause once. Now she lived between loyalty and resentment. Whispers followed. A quiet separation, assets reorganized with care, properties in Bermuda, New York, and beyond listed without fanfare. None of it shouted. All of it suggested a life being edited. Behind doors, he gave words to the fear he'd ducked for a decade. The age difference that had seemed like trivia at galas had become the axis of their private life. He started to see himself the way he imagined she did, slower, unpredictable in health, bordered by worry. She, despite loving him, could no longer ignore the erosion of her own joy. "I became her responsibility, not her partner," he reportedly told a friend. There isn't a line more likely to hollow a man out. At 80, he stopped guarding the image and let the exhaustion show. The glamour, the photos, the anniversaries posted to soothe a curious public. He admitted they were true in one way and incomplete in another. Loving Catherine Zeta-Jones had been the gift of his life, he said, and the hardest work he'd ever done. The fear beneath the devotion was simpler and more devastating than envy or pride, the sense that he had become the reason the light went dim in rooms she entered. Guilt shaped too many of his hours, guilt over the 25-year gap and what it meant across seasons, guilt that illness had taxed her youth, guilt that her plans had bent to his recovery, guilt that a woman known for fire and appetite had been drafted by circumstance into the role of caretaker. That guilt battered him more than any headline. Even as they marked anniversaries in 2023 and 2024, shared affectionate notes, and walked carpets with practiced ease, the private truth, by most accounts, stayed fragile. Catherine, now mid-50s, stood at a crossroads, a career to reclaim, a world to explore, friends to see, a life to live with the speed that suits her. He, more aware by the day of his limits, began quietly preparing for the possibility that she might let go, not out of betrayal, out of necessity. He said something to confidants that chilled them. The horror is watching the person you love fade next to you and knowing you're the reason. Some insist they are already in a kind of silent separation. Finances tidy, logistics handled. No accusations, no spectacle. Just two people who have survived too much and learned that love is mighty but not omnipotent. None of this unfolds like a movie third act. There may be no grand reconciliation montage or courtroom shock twist. There may only be acceptance, the hardest ending to write because it looks like life does when no one is scoring it. He talks now with the clarity age sometimes grants the lucky. Even the strongest love can fracture under the combined weight of time, illness, sacrifice, and silence. Not every story ends in betrayal. Some end with the dignity of admitting limits. He doesn't speak to pick a villain. He speaks to tell the truth about cost. And yet if there is a pulse still beating in this story, it's in the way they keep showing up. Maybe not as they used to, maybe not forever, but with a care that says the family they built matters more than the headlines that attach to it. They have given the public decades of images. What they keep for themselves, finally, are the decisions only they can make. Has this marriage crossed a point of no return? Or is there room left for a smaller, steadier version of what they once were to rise from what remains? The answer, for once, won't arrive at a premiere. It will appear on a quiet morning, in a house where two people who have carried fame like a second skin decide how to carry each other or how to set each other down without malice. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you felt something real, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.